Hey, 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 guess who is back? It is me, DJ Maya, back again. You have tuned into WVEWLP 107.7 FM, Brattleboro's community radio that we love, love, love so much. This is the second half where we go down the rabbit hole. I like to call it the spiritual rabbit hole into the podcast hour. So you have tuned into the podcast hour. Hopefully you have danced for an hour now and you're ready to just sit back, relax, and have a nice drink and just listen to this next interview because I have my handy dandy sidekick, DJ, with me here tonight, and we have got another amazing interview for you today. DJ Pooh Bear, say hello and let everybody know who you brought for us today.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back. Coming to you from Alberta, Canada again, by way of Vermont and Maya. This week's guest is a very, very interesting one. He is the author of over 30 books. He is an experiencer. He is a MUFON in a field investigator. His name is Preston Dennett, and I'm just so thrilled to have him here to talk about everything he's got going on.
Wonderful. Welcome, Preston. Say hello.
Hi, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I'm pretty excited. It's going to be fun.
Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, before we get started, I'd like to let everybody know that the views and opinions expressed on this program are those of me and my co-host and my guests, and not of the radio station. So keep your negative comments to yourself. We don't take those here. So all positivity here, and awakening, ascension, anything that falls down the rabbit hole. So Preston, where would you like to begin? How would you like to start this off? We have got so many fascinating topics to talk about. So how would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, I would just say that I kind of got involved in UFOs and the paranormal and all this stuff at a pretty young age. This was a long time ago. Let's see, I was 21 years old, 1986, and a diehard skeptic. Did not believe in any of this. My older brother Mark, had seen a UFO. I didn't believe him for a second. Like, Mark, you're crazy. Stop talking. I don't want to hear about it. That was when I was about 14 years old or so, 15. But 1986 comes around and there's this report in the news about a sighting over Alaska. And
Wow.
it turned out to be a huge case. It's really well known.
Mm-hmm.
But they showed this pilot, and I'm thinking, this poor guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He's hallucinating, he's lying, he's seeing a reflection off the ice cap. I mean, any excuse I could find just to say that this was not a UFO. But they showed his picture, and there was something about him. I mean, he looked like an honest guy. And I thought, gosh, he's an airline pilot. Did he see an honest to God alien craft? And that's when I remembered my brother Mark said he saw one. And so, stupid me, I go and ask my brother, you think you saw a UFO. What do you, quote, think you saw? I know you believe it. But he knocked me over. I mean, I have to tell you, I was shocked when he told me he saw this craft that had little colored lights around the edge, a dome on top. It was at treetop level. He chased it in his car. I'm like,
Wow.
you're kidding. He's like, no, right down Reseda Boulevard in Southern California.
Wow.
Yeah, for 15 minutes. It's like, Preston was totally quiet. We were passing other cars chasing it. Everyone was looking at it. Mark, are you
Really?
kidding? Yeah, honest. And he's like, you know my friends, Phil and Greg, right? I'm like, well, yeah. He's like, they were with me. You should talk to them. They will confirm my story. And of course, I did, and they did. And that's what kind of set the ball rolling for me. And, I don't know why, but I started asking everybody. And as far as I was concerned, it was bad news because I found out that a lot of people I knew had had UFO encounters, big
Mm-hmm.
ones. I mean, seeing grays or little blue beings or missing time or having these
Right.
craft come right down over their house. And of course, not just UFOs, but ghosts, a near-death experience, a lady at work. And others had precognition, dreams that came true. all kinds of stuff. I mean, it totally collapsed my belief system. I got dragged into this field, honestly, kicking and screaming. I was not a happy camper.
It was a rude awakening.
Very rude. I was so mad. I was like, how come you guys didn't tell me this stuff? You should have told me. And I'm like, well, we tried. You were not ready to listen. And I have to admit, that was true. And I still wasn't, I mean, it took me a year to wrap my head around this because, I mean, my
Really?
sister-in-law said she saw grays face to face right in front of
Really?
Stagg Street Elementary School.
No way. In the middle of the daytime or at
No, this was late at night, around 11, maybe midnight. This is Van Nuys. It's a pretty crowded area,
okay.
a densely crowded suburb. And she saw this abandoned shopping cart, and she's in college. She's like, I'm going to collect that shopping cart. I'm going to make an art project. And she took her dog, Sarah, out. This is, a half mile from her home, not even quarter mile. And she gets the shopping cart and she's trudging it down the sidewalk. And she's like, walking in front of Stagg Street Elementary School. I went down to this location after she told me this because I need to check this out. She says, there's this, floodlight right in front of the courtyard there. And as she's walking up to this school, it's right next to her. She's not on the other side of the street. It's right next to her. She sees these two little kids standing right under the spotlight there. She's like, well, that's odd. It's kind of late. It's almost midnight. Two little kids shouldn't be out. She's looking at them like, well, gosh, they look bald and they look chalk white. So could they be wearing masks or costumes? This is
Wow.
the middle of the summer, so no, it's not Halloween. And so she's walking up to them and she's like, gosh, they're wearing green jumpsuits. And they're like floating a couple of inches off the ground. So now her heart's beating, right? And she's like, what is this? Because they turn and
Oh,
look at her and they've got they're grays, right? The typical
oh,
gray ETs, huge heads, big dark eyes, olive green jumpsuits, a slit for a mouth, two little holes for a nose. And they turn and they kind of swivel and look right at her. She's 10 feet away. I'm like, you're kidding. She's like, no, no. It was like being woken up when you're already awake.
wow.
Yeah. And she's never read a UFO book. There weren't any grays on TV at this time. There just wasn't. She didn't even really know what she was talking about. I had just
Mhm.
read Bud Hopkins' Missing Time. So I knew what she was describing kind of almost better than she did in a weird way. Because I'm like, if she starts talking about these big eyes and the skin, and because I knew what
Yeah.
grays were, and she went right down the list, ticking all the boxes. I'm like, you
Mhm.
saw aliens. She's like, what? She's like, I didn't see any UFO. I'm like, She says, this school had a kind of a U-shaped building. Could have landed right there on the playground and no one would have known. Big row of
Wow.
trees. But yeah,
Okay,
that
so what happened when she walked up to them? There's
they
got to be more
turned,
of that story.
they turned
They
and
just scared?
looked at her. She got scared. They just kind of looked at her. I'm like, did you get any messages? 'Cause sometimes people will get telepathic stuff. She's like, no, I don't
Mhm.
think so. I was pretty scared at that point. Her little dog, Sarah, didn't do a thing, just kind of walking along. So she's pushing this shopping cart and kind of watching them as she goes by. She says, you know what? I'm ditching this shopping cart and I'm not going to run home because she didn't want to go into a full-on panic. So she
Right.
just ditched the shopping cart and walked as fast as she could, not looking back. She doesn't think she had missing time, but honestly, she couldn't be sure. And
Oh,
she quickly just filed it. She's like, I'm not telling anyone. No one will ever hear about this. I don't know what those were. All I know
what?
is they weren't human.
Mm-hmm.
And she had just seen a UFO like just months earlier. And I think there's a connection because I've learned this in my research. If you have a
Yes.
close-up UFO sighting, that's sometimes an introduction. Like, we're coming for you. So yeah, it was
Yeah.
just a few months earlier. She had seen this amazing UFO not far away. So
I,
that was
I
my
heard that.
introduction.
That was wonderful. I heard that if you see a UFO, it's their way of letting you know, yes, we're confirming for you, we do exist. And most likely 9 times out of 10, you've already been abducted.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that. I've come to realize
Mhm.
that if you're seeing a UFO, they know it. They're doing it on purpose. And
Yeah,
depending how high up it is, if it's a little star-like object in the sky darting by, that's one thing. But if
right.
it's anywhere within, a couple of thousand feet, 100 feet, if it's close to you, that's a huge red flag. Yes,
Yeah.
you've had contact
I
for
s- I
sure.
seen I seen my UFO in LA. I was on the highway at night coming from Playa del Rey on that, what
Hmm.
is it, 90? It was like that off highway. And right by the trees, I thought it was like a plane going over because the light was so big right on top of me. And so I was looking and I was like, oh, maybe it's a plane, and no, maybe it's a helicopter. It's not moving. Then I looked and I squinted my eyes, and it literally looked like the moon was right in front of me, like it was a building. The moon was right there. It was as big as the moon. It was just gigantic light. And I looked and I squinted my eyes and I could see little lights in the back, and I saw a shadow behind it. And I was like, oh my God, it's a UFO. And the person that I was with had already seen a UFO before. So I was like, oh, ironic that I happened to be with him, because I had prayed, like, please, I need to see a UFO, because I was asking for like a whole year. And they say, ask and you shall receive. So I was asking and begging, I did. And then when I did my hypnosis, they said, yes, we wanted her to see us because she's always asking for proof. She's always asking for proof. So we gave her just for a few minutes. And I was like, oh my God. But I don't know who it was. I
Good.
don't know if it was the Syrians, because the Syrians abducted me when I was 15, when I was trying to I was trying to exit this world, and they abducted me and sent me back. So I don't know if it was the Syrians, but I just had lots of time the other night. I was driving. I looked at the clock. It said 4:44. Ironically, that day, I had been seeing number of sequences all day. I saw 11:11, 2:22. I saw, wait, 1:11, 2:22, 3:33, 4:44. I was driving and I saw 4:44. I said, damn, all day. What's the message? I was driving, 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 driving. All of a sudden, I picked up the clock because I'm like, what time is it? 4:45. There's no way. Not 1 minute. A minute passed by? No. It was like 20, 30 minutes maybe. And so I was like, I almost freaked out. I was like, here we go. They always do this when I'm driving. So yeah, I don't know if you've had loss of time or anything like that after you saw these UFOs. Like, was that like one of the, I know for me, that was one of the earliest things I paid attention to after I saw a UFO was missing time. But have you experienced any missing time at all? Sorry, that was long-winded. I
Oh,
talk a
I
lot.
have actually. It kind of took
Oh,
me a while to unpack it because I was, like you, like I want to see some, I've talked to my brother, my sister-in-law, a good family friend, another friend, several people I worked with for a long time. These are all people I loved and trusted. I'm like, they're all seeing this. I want to see one. I'm buying
mm-hmm.
every darn book. And I'm the kind of guy who's like, well, it's not enough to just talk to people about ghosts. I want to see a ghost. I've investigated Bigfoot. I want to go out there in the forest and see a Bigfoot. And so that's kind of been my MO. And certainly UFOs was the big first thing. And I'm like, I need to see one of these things. I need to, or I am going to lose my mind. And because I was investigating this huge wave of sightings over my
Mm-hmm.
hometown, Topanga Canyon, and I'd had a few sightings of unexplained lights. I mean, I went down to this UFO group and this contactee was there and he's like, oh yeah, I've had all this contact. I've been on board. And if you want, I'll call one down after my lecture. I'm sure you will. All right. And he did. Honest to God, he took us out there. 10 or 20 of us meditated real briefly. And he pointed to the sky and said, watch there, they're coming. Don't look away. And maybe 20 seconds, this light came swooping down. And honestly, it did look like a shooting star, but this was downtown Santa Monica. You couldn't see a single star in the sky. So that impressed me, actually. And I thought, you know what? That was good, but not good enough. I want more
Wow.
because it was ambiguous. There's a little bit of ambiguity there. So
Mm-hmm.
Time goes forward, and I'm investigating this wave of sightings where people are being chased down the road. UFOs are landing next to their house or hovering overhead and lighting up the entire interior of their house. Talked to a couple
What?
people who've been taken on board. I mean, this was a wave of sightings that was off the charts. I ended up writing a book about it, UFOs over Topanga. So
Okay.
this is June 1992. Uh, and July rolls around, right? And I'm at my brother's house, Mark, my sister-in-law, Christine Kisara. She had seen ETs as a little girl. So they were helping me kind of through this. He had seen a UFO, she had contact, and I'm still trying to just be okay with this. And so I'm staying late at their house in Woodland Hills, really densely populated. I'm like, it's late, it's Sunday, I got to go home. This is late July or so, last week of July in 1992. And I get in my little car and I'm heading down their street, Golondrina. It's a tight little side street. You can't go very fast. And I'm coming around this hairpin corner, which is real tight, very steep. So you can't take it more than 5 miles an hour. It's just impossible. You're not going to do it. And as I'm coming around this corner, something catches my eye. And I look up and I'm thinking, is that a bird coming towards my car? And knew instantly it wasn't, because it's a glowing round thing, small, like an orb.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
oh, maybe that's a firecracker, but no, it's coming for me. I mean, it's targeting me. And it comes down in this kind of sweeping parabola and stops right in front of my windshield. And it's this little ball of light, like a golf ball, kind of, slightly bigger and really pretty, actually. Kind of this white, gold light, yellowish, hard edges, and it stops right in front of my face. And the first thing you do, you don't think, oh, well, this is a UFO or anything unexplained. I'm thinking, well, reflection. So I'm moving my head back and forth, even though I knew at this point this is no reflection. There's no way. I mean, I watched this thing come towards me from 200 feet away. And then this thing goes to the left, it goes to the right, goes to the left. It's sweeping back and forth in front of my windshield, kind of confirming, like, we're real. This is not a reflection. Stops again right in front of my face, and I'm sensing something from it. Like, I see you, or, I don't know. It's an intelligence. And this thing scoots forward, dips down, almost scrapes the cement on the road, the asphalt, and goes straight up. And so I'm gripping my driver's, steering wheel, and watching this thing go straight up through the canopy of trees, and it's gone. And you know what? I forgot about it. I did not remember it until about 6 months later, when it just popped back into my head. And I always tell people, well, yeah, that's my sighting, until, gosh, years, some guy asked, well, what happened next? What did you do?
Right.
I've had sightings after that. And, when you have a sighting, you're like, you call your friends, you write it down, you lose your mind a little bit. And I don't remember doing anything. I know what I would have done. I would have turned right around, gone back to Mark and Christy and said, you're not going to believe it. I've just had my first encounter. So I'm pretty darn sure that was missing time, because I don't remember driving home. It's 5 miles, not that far. I would have, lied there in bed, just ecstatic. I don't remember that at all. I don't remember the next morning. I don't remember anything after that.
That actually reminds me, the listeners have probably heard me mention this before, but I just wanted to tell you because it's very similar. About 6 months ago, I was going in town to pick up my fiance from work, and I remember going through this section of trees, and then it's clear highway again. I live out in the Alberta prairies, and there's no hydro poles on the sides of the road, so it wasn't a reflection off or anything. Just out in the peripheral on my left side, like on my side, I saw this silver flash, and it came down towards my side. And by the time I looked at it, I didn't go, what was that? I was like, not again. And then all of a sudden, I was 2 minutes ahead of where I should have been, and like had to anxiously make my right turn to go pick up my fiance because I skipped 2 minutes. And
Hmm.
it was right after this silver thing came into my peripheral.
Wow.
And it was the reaction when I finally remembered it, because I should have went like, what the hell is that? But my first reaction was not again.
That's a red flag. Yep. This has happened before.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was weird because of this skip. I was like agitated for about 2 days afterwards, and I ended up having an astral projection, a dream, whatever you want to call it, with some extraterrestrial life that basically like, look, we kind of slotted you off by 2 minutes. I'm like, do you know what it was like in my body for the last 2 days? Because my time was here, but my body was here. And it was just very irritating. I felt like I had insulation on the inside. But as soon as I woke up from that dream, I felt like I had been reset.
Yeah, well, I've heard similar things. It can be a very dissociative experience. People will feel like they're walking in front of themselves or walk, dissociated, I guess is the best way of saying it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I certainly get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to so many people who've had that kind of thing, and it's really funny because I think there is a connection to this and out of body experiences. Because
Oh,
right when
Yeah.
I started investigating this stuff, I started having out of body experiences. And I will say it's something I did pursue vigorously because I read
Hmm.
about it. I'm like, well, gosh, this guy, Robert Monroe, you may have heard of him. He's real famous in the out of body, literature.
Okay.
He,
yeah. Rob
yeah,
mentions him a lot with the hemisync beats.
right. I didn't use those. I just did it the old fashioned. They weren't around back then. I picked up his books and he says, well, you can do this. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. This sounds a bit scary. But my mom had passed away, and I was completely devastated by that. So I was getting whammied, mom passes away, UFOs are real, and let's try this out of body stuff, and it worked. And so now I'm having out of body experiences. I'm telling my family, like, guess what? There's life after death. I'm going out of body. UFOs are real. They're like, poor Preston, he's lost his mind. Not Mark. God bless Mark. He's like, well, yeah, I believe you. I've had a UFO experience, but I had three older brothers, Mark and Stephen and Jamie. Stephen and Jamie were super skeptical. They were
Uh-huh.
ragging on me. You need to stop this. You are losing your mind. I'm like, no, no, I'm actually learning something. You've got to try this. Of course, they wouldn't. My dad was so upset. He's like, I should have
Uh-huh.
taken you to church. I'm like, no, Dad, I'm okay. Don't worry. But I loved, yeah, the OBEs changed my life even more, I think, than the UFOs did. So,
How
yeah,
did it start for you, and what was it like? I know a lot of people talk about trying to have an outer body experience, but what was it like for you? I know my son said that he had one and it scared him instantly. He got scared and he was like, I got to get back to my body. But what was it like for you, your first time, your first experience?
almost always really emotional for people because you got to remember the astral body is also called the emotional body. So you pop out and your emotions are going to come at you like a hurricane. And that was absolutely true for me. A lot of people have fear. I'm not a super scared guy. After my mom died, I was, but I just got so exhausted from it. I'm like, I need to leave this fear behind. This is ridiculous. I can't function. So, I was having dreams about her coming into my room and saying, I'm not dead. Everything's fine. You're okay. I'm okay. And I didn't believe in life after death. So I'm like in a bit of a quandary. I'm like, gosh, I know it's her. It can't be her. What's going on here? Which got me interested in dreams. And that kind of led to the out of body stuff. So I'm doing these exercises that Robert Monroe talks about in his book, which in a nutshell are basically meditation, visualizations, this kind of thing. And almost immediately, I started doubling my dream recall and then tripling. And I was like dreaming all night, super vivid. And it was weird because, I mean, here's a good example of like, this is crazy. I woke up having fallen asleep on the kitchen floor with my head stuck beneath the kitchen cabinet. And I pulled my head out. I'm like, this can't be, I don't fall asleep on the kitchen floor. You know, we have 8 people in the house. This is not possible. And I kind of
Wow.
stumbled, yeah, I stumbled back into my room and I climbed into bed and woke up and realized, oh, okay, I was actually in bed. That was an out of body experience. I just didn't recognize it. All right, I'm getting close. And it was just
Wow.
a couple of days after that, a week, I forget. Didn't take me long. I mean, I did these exercises for about a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I was depressed. I'm going, it was during the middle of the day, and I went into my bedroom. Finally, I had my own bedroom after, I didn't get my own bedroom until I was 19 years old. If you can believe that.
Don't feel bad. I didn't get my own bedroom till I was 16, but that was only because I had a baby.
Hey, we got to count our blessings, I guess. But
Right?
I was really glad to finally have my own room. And I laid down on my stomach, and instantly I started feeling what we call the vibrations. This Robert Monroe talked about it, the vibratory state. So I didn't quite recognize it. I thought I'd stick my finger in the light socket, and I was being electrocuted. Pretty darn sure that's what was happening because he said, "Oh, you might feel a mild electric feeling." This was not mild. I was sure I was being electrocuted, and it didn't feel that good. It didn't hurt, but it was really strong. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And then pop, I popped out and I flew out of control across the room, into the hallway, into the bathroom, and got control by grabbing the counter and looking into the mirror, not seeing anything. And I thought, well, oh my God, I'm having an out of body experience. It worked. And I got so excited, I went whoosh right back in. And I'm in my bedroom, I'm floating horizontal over the floor, and I see someone in my bedroom. And this is not a living person. This is, I don't know who it is. I couldn't see them. They were super short, 4 or 5 feet. Never did figure out who that was. But at any rate, I floated right over my body and then kind of settled down into it and woke up. And, my depression lifted. I'm like, this works. There is life after death. I am doing this again as soon as I can. And did it 1 week later, same exact thing. Third time, I woke up in the middle of the night, pitch black, and I'm standing next to my bed. I'm like, what am I doing? I was all, I had vertigo. Finally, I cleared my head and I'm like, okay, I'm okay. I'm awake. I'm standing next to my bed. Look down in my bed and I'm actually in it. I'm like, oh no, I'm dead. I'm dead. And of course, that's not a good feeling.
You're freaked out. Oh no, I'm dead.
Yeah, I was terrified. I mean,
Oh crap! I did this on purpose.
I'm like, I should never have done this. This was a big mistake. I'm dead. My family's gonna cry.
Uh-huh.
And so of course I naturally just tried to get back into my body and did it. I filled it up. I had to squeeze in and find where my arms and legs were, and I'm like, okay, I'm fitting it. It was like putting on a suit or climbing into a mold, kind of, if you know what I mean. And I wiggled
No
around
way.
and I finally I'm like, okay, I'm in. And I sat up. And I shouldn't have done that because I came that close to forgetting. But I'm like, I know
Oh,
something happened. I know something happened. And then I remembered. I'm like, yes, I did it. So that's how it began. And I tried so hard to get this done. I mean, I was meditating an hour a day. And pretty much every weekend I would have one. But here's the thing. I'd feel the vibrations. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I'd pop out. And I'd be like, yeah, I did it. And whoosh, right back in. I had about 20 or 30 1 to 5 second OBEs.
no way.
Yeah. Finally, I just popped out one day. I'm like, calm down. Calm down. You're okay. And I was able to stay out a good 10, 20, 30 seconds. And then I get
Wow.
oxygen. And boom. But I
Back in.
did it after a year. I could stay out, for 5 minutes and walk. First thing I did was walk through the wall. And that was so cool. Oh, you can feel it. I would always close my eyes. Later, I got the courage to like just keep your eyes open, see what it looks like, because
Uh-huh.
it's nerve-wracking. I mean, this was all new. I, I had no one to go to. There weren't seminars and podcasts
Right.
back then. There was nothing out there. I mean, there were some books. I started buying all of them. Not as
Mm-hmm.
good as they are today, but that's how it started. And God, did I get good at it? Ugh, I had
Wow.
so much fun.
Wow. Were you gonna say something, DJ Boo Bear?
Yeah, I was gonna say actually after my awakening and stuff, I kind of started toying with like breathing exercises and meditations. And did you ever get like aggressively put back? Because there was a couple of times I felt like I fell back in, like kind of I would come back into a rough landing from a deep meditation. Like I don't know if I was touching stuff I wasn't supposed to be or what, but like it felt like I'd get jolted back out of it instead of just coming in.
Yeah, that's called repercussion. That's well known, and that's I didn't have a huge problem with it. It did happen. I mean,
Yeah,
one time I was out and something fell off my wall when I was out of the body. I had this yucca that was a yucca plant, and it was really
yeah,
twisted and cool. And I put it above my window, and I'm like, this is cool. I'm just going to keep it there. And for some darn reason, this thing falls down in the middle of the night, and I'm out of body. So I came in, wham! And yeah, you practically bounce off the bed. It's not a good feeling. And I
no,
started to recognize it because you've ever been to sleep and suddenly you like jerk, and you're like, oh, what the heck was that? That's
yeah,
that's you coming back or maybe trying to get out.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, repercussion, I've had it, but
Okay,
sometimes I'll be far out there and it's time to come back. And we have the silver cord. Took me
yeah.
forever to see that darn thing. I never saw it. People are talking about,
really?
oh, I see it all the time. I'm like, I haven't seen mine. Some people
It
see it,
is
some don't.
is that the silver cord that's connected to your ankle?
Different parts of the body. It can be connected pretty much anywhere, I learned. People say, well,
Really?
it's connected to the back of your head or your forehead or the back center of your back. I've had it
Yeah,
pretty much different places. I mean, once I was like bound and determined to see this thing because I had seen it a few times, but I'm like, I need to study this because I'd gotten good enough where I could, do things, experiments. And it
Mm-hmm.
popped out of my body. I'm like, okay, I need to find this silver cord. And I'm going all over. It was coming out of my stomach. And this
yeah,
darn thing was, I don't know, thick as a fire hose, four or
No
five
way.
inches. And it wasn't a solid thing. It was made up of millions of little tiny energetic fibers. So I'm kind of picking at it. I'm like, probably I shouldn't be doing this. Started to feel a little uncomfortable.
Oh my
It,
gosh.
yeah, I get a little crazy sometimes in things I try, but I read about it. I'm like, if these guys can do it, why not me?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So, people are talking about exploring the hellish realms. I'm like, let's do it. People are saying, what does your body look like, when you're out? I'm like, well, I don't know. How are you dressed? Finally, I'm like, okay, well, let's just study my body. I looked down, I couldn't believe it. I'm working full time as a bookkeeper, right? So you have to kind of dress up nice, button
Right.
down shirt. And I look down, I've got my shiny work shoes on, my button down shirt, my slacks. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. So I'm like, you know what? I need to see what's underneath all this. So I strip. I do the full on strip down.
Brace.
And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Because I've been doing this for some years now. And when I was a very skinny little runt of a kid. I was pretty
Uh,
much the smallest of us 6 kids. And at some point, I'm like, I need to work out. I need to get buff. And I did.
okay.
I started working out. And I never really got, I'm a skinny guy. I'm not going to get that big. But
Uh-huh.
when I'm out of body, you should see me. I am buff. Oh man, all my hair comes back. I'm bald pretty much. Started losing
Really?
hair pretty early, 27, 28, it started coming out, and by 35, I'm pretty much like I am now. And
Wow.
it goes whoosh right back. I had the greatest hair as a young man. I get compliments because I had these kind of Shirley Temple curls, and it was
Mm-hmm.
not blonde, but sort of, not quite dark brown either.
Right.
That
Like a
all
herb
comes back, and
auburn.
I'm buff, and I'm 20 years old when I'm out of body. I can age regress down to a little kid if I want. I tried that because I read about it. I'm like, wow, you can actually do this. And I did, and I got a mirror and I'm looking at myself. I'm like,
No way.
yeah, not kidding.
Wow. That's awesome. So what was the longest that you stayed after that then? Were you able to stay longer than 10 minutes?
Oh yeah, I worked it up and it averages, still it's averaging for me 5, 10 minutes, 20. If I'm good at it, I can really extend it. But I've done it all night. I remember one time I went out, I'm like, well, because usually you feel this sort of sense like I need to get back, or you just get pulled right
Oh,
back
I
in.
lost your sound.
Oh, you did? Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Archangel Zachiel, let him talk.
I can hear him.
Surround the was clear. The sound just went out.
All
I can
right.
hear him.
There we go. Sorry,
Yeah.
it went out on my side. Sorry.
Testing,
Say that
testing.
again. I know.
Yeah, was able to extend it to an hour or two. It's one time when I was right in the thick of it, because it comes in waves. You get really good at it, and then life catches up, and you got to pay the bills, and stuff happened. But I was just really on my game, and I popped out of my body early in the evening. I'm like, whoa, it was often, you get pulled back in early. I'm like, well, I guess I can still go out because I'm not feeling the urge to get back to my body. I flew around for hours. I flew all over the LA freeways. I'm like, gosh, I'm probably about 3,000 feet up, flying over these roads and just exploring around. I lived in a
Wow.
condominium complex. I loved those days when it was all
Could you
brand.
go through people's houses and stuff? Could you see people in their houses, or were you just outside the buildings?
I have done that, and I started to feel really guilty because I'm a good guy. I don't want to spy, and
Yeah.
I try
You didn't
not.
go to the White House? I would have been like, DC, here I come.
I wasn't quite there yet where I could do that. I
Right.
was still kind of exploring the neighborhood, so to speak. But I lived in this 3-story condominium complex. So I'm flying around it, landing on people's balconies and looking in. I'm like, oh, so this is who lives here. That's what the condo looks like. And I felt bad because I'm like, gosh, I'm
Right.
spying. There was a few times a new person moved in. And one time I woke up, I'm out of body, and I couldn't even control myself. I went straight into this guy's house. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh, because if you have a desire that's not realized, it can fulfill instantly. Again, it's the emotional body. I struggled because, I'm a pretty emotional guy, generally speaking, but I don't really have anger issues or anything like that. I'd pop out of my body. I get so angry. Ooh, I would be furious. Like, what is going on? I need to destroy something. And I would start like trying to knock things over. I was crazy. And that kind of moved on. And then I had lust issues, which is so embarrassing. But
Really?
you can go to
I
the other
love to
side.
hear.
It was, Robert Monroe talks about this. He talked about going to the other side and there'd be people doing these orgy scenes. And I'm like, oh God, that's
Are you
intense.
serious?
Yeah. And, there's
What?
this is part of it, the sexual energy. This is why monks and nuns and stuff would remain chaste in the secret schools of learning. It was to
Mm-hmm.
help you go out of body. I read about this in some of these esoteric writings. I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. But I was starting to go to the other side at this point. And there's these places you can go basically where anything you think manifests. I mean, you can make a tree and it's a tree. You can make your house and it kind of comes up around you like a watercolor and then gets real clear and boom, it's pristine. It's perfect. And I was experimenting with that. And actually, first the anger, then came gluttony. I don't have an eating disorder or anything. I do think that I starved in several lifetimes because I was starting to remember past lives at this point, because that comes
Wow.
into play here. And so I'd create these feasts of food. I'd create a table. It was always the same darn thing. I'd create this table and I'd fill it with brownies, chicken nuggets, sour cream and onion potato chips, Neapolitan ice cream, and some glasses of orange juice. That was my meal. And I would gorge, and I'm just shoving it down my throat, and it would always disappear about not into my stomach, about halfway down your throat, and you could not satisfy yourself.
Oh, wow.
So I totally get it when someone's like an earthbound spirit and you want your drugs or you want your food or you want, whatever it is you're addicted to. Because I was going through it. Oh
Right.
man. And then of course I would get just so lustful. And it's kind of a joke among my brothers. We're all horny all the time. Just to be perfectly honest. The Dennett
You guys,
boys.
you're a guy. It's normal. I know that is normal.
Right. I think
I
so.
understand.
My
Certainly it
dad
was true for my dad. I mean, my dad had 6 kids. Come on, we know what's going on here.
Okay. He was like, I
4
left your
moms.
mom. I left your
Yeah.
mom.
But it was funny because I'd pop out there, I'd be like, "Oh God, what am I gonna do? This is crazy." And I don't want to get into the lurid details, but you can only imagine that if you
Did you
wanted to
have
make
some
love to anybody you wanted to,
relationships, dates? Did you have
yeah,
relationships and dates
that
with
happened.
in the
Mm,
astral?
yep, absolutely. I have
Like,
I met someone who could do it, astral travel, and we
no
took,
way.
yeah, we would
Did you
get
Don't
guys
tell
go
him
on
to work.
like, little rendezvous trips and stuff? Did you have fun like in the astral? I
yeah.
don't
Yeah. Well, by that time, I'd pretty much gotten over the need to do
Oh,
that. It was a phase. Honest to God, it was a phase that took me a little bit because Robert Monroe said, I'm just going to walk away and do something else. I'm like, are you kidding? This looks like fun. I'm diving in. And I did. And it got
okay.
old. Everything gets old after a while. So if you go to the other side, and you see these heavenly realms in the
Uh-huh.
Akashic Library, and you meet enlightened masters, and you're going to schools of learning where you can do telekinesis and teleportation and crazy stuff, learning about past lives. That looks pale in comparison. So I'm like, there's the fun on the higher realms. So,
Oh,
so that was just a short phase of a year or two. But it
wow.
sure was fun. It was very, very fun, and I can't recommend it enough. Work through your issues astrally. You will love it.
Wow. And this Robert Monroe, he's the guy, huh?
He's my go-to guy. There's some people who are really good at this. William Buellman, he taught me a lot because I couldn't stay out. And he's like, all you have to do is, when you start feeling yourself losing consciousness, start spinning. Call out for clarity or awareness, awareness, awareness. He taught me how to use the power of intention. I love Marilyn Hughes. She's really good at it. She goes way out there.
Okay.
There's a lot of good teachers in these books. I did eventually try HemiSync. I didn't like it. It felt like it was forcing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it the way I'm doing it. And it's so much fun. Learning about past lives is crazy because you know what happens? You say, take me to a past life. And
Uh,
almost always, not always, but a lot, you are taken to the death scene, how you died in that lifetime, because that's what you're carrying sometimes the trauma of.
right.
So, dying in the Holocaust, that was intense.
Was that one of your stories?
Yeah.
What
I,
what did you see?
I was on a bus. I was this middle-aged guy, and I don't really remember any family. I just remember being pulled onto this bus. I'm like, well, this is not good. And I'm there with a bunch of other Jewish people,
Mm,
and they gave it. Did they give us clothes to wear? I forget. But we ended up at this camp, and they marched us off the bus and said, run, 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 run. And there's, guns everywhere around you. So you run. And they ran us up into a line, and I'm like, well, this is not good, because the first person in line will get shot in the head and go into a pit. Second, third, fourth. I'm like, well, here we go. Bam. That was it. Grim, dark, terrible. Man,
No way.
I don't like guns. I never have.
Oh,
Terrible.
Yeah, that was horrific. That one I actually decided to experience, because another time I was a lady, and this guy's coming at me. I'm like, I know what's going to happen. I remember this now. I am about to get raped and murdered. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And so I did what I do to get out of it, which is basically opening and closing my eyes and wiggling my hands and feet and saying, I'm done, I'm going back. And, thank God it worked, because I didn't want to go through that again.
oh my gosh. Have you ever tried to change your timelines? Like go back and change something? Like you remember
No,
and like fight back or fight out of it or anything like that?
no, I haven't. I did go back into my past one time, and I'm looking at myself, and I got real close, and I got a very strong message. No, you do not mess around with the past. The past is the past. You can't change it. But no, I have not
Well,
done that.
I like
That
to
was,
disagree and say that might have been your ego just trying to like prevent you from seeing shit. Because I do hypnosis therapy and they say all the time, like, this is what we need um, to get rid of these traumas and these ancestral curses and things. You have to go into past lives. And that's what I do. I take people into their past lives, So I think the ego a lot likes to get in there and like say things and this and that. But
yeah, well, you may be right. I love
yeah,
doing the past life stuff, because it did clear up stuff for me.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
all into shipwrecks. I mean, you can see the books behind me. I have, rows of books, which are UFO books, but I have every book on every shipwreck you can find. I talked to a psychic
Wow.
once. She's like, what's with you and ships? I'm like, I'm asking you. You tell me. She says, I think you were a pirate, and I can see you actually being a pirate. And that kind of made sense to me. But I do remember going in a past life, and I was a soldier on a ship. I've had a lot of lifetimes on ships, I'm pretty sure. And that
Wow.
ship went down so fast. I remember we were jam-packed, standing room only soldiers, and something happened, and that ship went right down, and we all died. All
Oh
of us.
God.
shit.
Mm.
That is crazy. That is
Yeah.
crazy. So
It's not all bad, though.
after,
There's been good ones.
well, I mean, the beauty of it is that it might seem like a horrible thing, like, oh, I died, but you, it's like, what is death? You take a breath, you end one thing, and you open your eyes and you breathe into another thing. It's like, it's so quick, the crossover from your physical body to your spirit body, right? So I've learned to like not fear death. Some days, like if I know things are careless, I'm like, today's not a good day. Not today. I'm gonna avoid that today because I'm not gonna go drive in the freezing rain today on the highway, right? Anything
Right.
can happen.
Yeah, you
But
get
I
little
always say,
warnings sometimes. It's funny, like,
yeah,
don't go out today. It's not a good. Don't park here.
yeah.
You're gonna get a ticket. I should have listened. I got a ticket. And I got the message loud and clear. And I'm looking for a sign. I'm like, there's no sign. I'm parking here. I didn't see the sign. It was hidden behind a tree.
Oh shit.
Mhm.
So unfair. I
Right.
should have fought that ticket, but I didn't. I
It
do
happened.
remember when 9/11 happened, and everyone's freaking out and everyone's grieving. And there was that Flight 93 with Todd Beamer, who's like, let's go, let's stop these hijackers. I was, I don't know, I felt connected to him, because he was someone who's trying to do the right thing and stop this. And of course, it went down, and I just wanted to know what it was like. And so I went out of body, and I was on that flight. I'm absolutely convinced this happened. And it's going down, it's going down. I'm like, oh gosh, this is happening so fast. And I could see the ground coming up, and boom, we hit. And you know what? You fly out of your body before you actually hit. and there's the heavenly lights coming at you. I call them heavenly lights. I'm not religious, but
Yeah.
you can see this divine kind of golden, beautiful, like the pearly gates. I mean, seriously.
Well, heavenly lights is spiritual. It's not religious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so beautiful. I'm like, okay, they're fine. Everyone's okay. It's not hard to die. I've done that a few times. I'll be out of body. I'm like driving a car. I'm like, well, I'm out of body. I'm in a car. Let's just drive off a cliff. See what happens. Bam. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I kind of thought that would go a little different.
Well, what you do is similar to what I do with hypnosis, but yours is more wild and like crazy. You're just like, woo, let's go have some fun. Have you ever seen anything when you're out? Have you ever ran into other people in the astral? Or is
Oh,
it
all the
just by
time.
yourself?
No,
Oh,
no,
you did say that lady, but what was it like when you were out? Did you see things like only humans, or what did you see? Ships, anything like that? Were you able to see the spaceships and things like that? Or
did see a gray once. Scared the living daylights out of me because I wasn't expecting it. I mean, it wasn't scared. It just shocked me. Like, what is that up ahead of me? That looks like is that a? And I'm whizzing along. I'm trying to get to the other side, and there's sort of a barrier between the worlds, and he was right there. Like, that's a gray. Oh my god! And he turns his head and he watches me go by. Cute little thing, I have to say. I mean, he was a nice little guy. But I'm
uh-huh.
like, oh my gosh, that was a great. And I've seen this, gosh, you see a lot of people. I've seen earthbound spirits who are not okay. I mean, they're evil. They have made the wrong choice. I've seen demonic spirits which are full on. I mean, they're lost.
What do
I
they
did,
look like?
well, the lowest I went down because I was exploring the hellish realms, and there's people who don't know they've died. There's people who do, but they're stuck. There's levels, right? But I
Uh-huh.
went like, let's go deep, let's go down. And it was really dense and difficult and uncomfortable. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. This is probably stupid. But this group of people appeared and they started flattering me, like, oh, you're so great. We love you. And I'm looking at them like, sure you do. Because it was false flattery. You know what I mean? They were trying to pump me up, and I just don't trust it when someone's doing that. And I'm looking at them like, yeah, right. And they changed real quick into full-on classic demons with fangs and, gosh, just scaly skin. And I'm not sure if they had horns so much, but just this evil demeanor that
Mm.
they were gnashing their teeth and clawing at me. And I'm like projecting white light. I'm like, oh God, what do I do? 'Cause, this sort of thing had happened before, and I'd be like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this. I've read you're supposed to, send in love. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. This is too freaky. But I did that time, and that pissed them off so bad. I'm like, I'm not helping them. I'm not helping me. I could fend them off. I mean, they were not going to touch me. But I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. And yeah, that was probably the most crazy
When
one.
you sent them love, what happened?
They came at me. They were going against this wall that I'd put up, kind of a wall of protection around me. And they're hitting it and they're trying to get through it. I mean, they're clawing and they're gnashing and they're spitting and they're growling. And I'm like, wow, look at you. No, you're not going to touch me. You have no idea. I can, push you away. And I did. That made them
Oh,
so angry.
no
They were,
way. How did you push them away?
I exerted, I don't know, it was just a natural impulse, I guess, a natural, intuitive push out my light, my aura, I guess, expand it and just kind of send love towards them,
You
oddly.
did the Mortal Kombat all you can. The
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it worked. It really did. But I didn't want to test it anymore because they were losing their minds. Like, these guys are going to go crazy. I had this naive idea, like, well, maybe I could make them feel better. Maybe if they knew that there's another choice, they could change their ways.
right?
No, they're not going to do that. I mean, I'm not going to be able to change them. But one
Wow.
time I went out, oh my gosh, it was so cool. There was this ghost in my house. I'm like, dude, who are you? What's your name? He's like, my name's Mac. I'm like, Mac, you really shouldn't be here. You need to go to the other side. You'll have much more fun there. I later met him there. He's like, oh, it's me, Mac. I love you. I'm like, dude, wow. But I told him outside there was another guy. I'm like, Bill, you gotta go. So I'm walking outside, and there was this being out there, and I don't even know how to describe, but like a fountain of energy, of sparking blue and red and purple and yellow lights, kind of like a fountain, but made of light. And it was so cool. I'm like, look at that. And I didn't know what to think of it, and I kind of just walked around it, and I got the sense that this was a really advanced being of some kind, but not human. I don't know what that was, but that was the most beautiful thing I think I've seen on the earthly realms.
Wow. So you basically helped cross those two people over?
Yeah, yeah, and that's,
Did they go through that light? Did they go into that rainbow light when they left, or?
I don't know. I just like, get out of here, go to the other side. I did cross over this little girl who'd been murdered. This is like, I heard about people doing this. I'm like, well, I want to do this. Let's rescue a girl. And
Right.
that poor little thing didn't want to look at me. She's scared of me. I'm just a guy, she doesn't know me. I'm like, do you want to fly? Because that's how I'll usually do it. I'm like, I can show you, let's fly. And you go straight up and you can go to the other side. If you intend it and you know where it is, you can go there. And she's like, no, stranger danger. She's not going to do it. I'm like, you know what? I can take you to your mother. And then her eyes lit up. Because I had the feeling she was down there for a while. I mean, her
Oh,
mother would not be alive anymore. But you get these impressions, and suddenly you just know what happened. She was raped and murdered. Poor thing
oh,
was like 6 years old, 8. No, not 8, 7 maybe. She was young, and it broke
oh.
my heart. Oh,
Did you catch her name?
I didn't. I have since, because I'm learning as I go on. I popped out of body once. There's this little kid in my house. I'm like, hi, what's your name? He says, my name's Buster, and I was mauled by a bull. I'm like, oh my God. And he was okay. He was like kind of proud. I'm like, Buster. Just recently, I this guy appeared. They'll come to you for some reason if you can do this, right? I guess
Mhm.
I don't know if they're being sent to you or you're attracting them or what. But here's
Right.
this real tall guy. This just happened like 4 days ago. And I'm like, dude, I can take you to the other side if you want. He's like, okay. And off we go. And I said, who are you? No, what did I say? I should have, I try to get their name. One guy, he's like, my name's Thoreau Dean. I looked up Thoreau Dean. I couldn't find him anywhere. I didn't ask this guy his name. I'm like, is there anyone you want to see on the other side? He said, yeah, there is. I'm like, who is it? He says, well, there's this, it's Robert Bateman. No, David Bateman's son. I'm like, David Bateman's son? Okay. Because I'm thinking, Jason, did you say Jason Bateman? He's like, no, David Bateman. I'm like, okay. Who's David Bateman? Who's his son? And he's like, well, he's this guy I know, and I really like him. And then he clammed up and he's looking at me like he's super embarrassed. And I started getting impressions. So I'm like, dude, are you gay? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, it's fine. Doesn't matter to me. let's
Uh-huh.
let's go. I'll take you where you need to go. And I did. And it wasn't the super high realms where everything's beautiful and garden like. He didn't quite make it that high. And we
Oh,
landed in this kind of urban area, which is right below the heavenly realms. And
uh-huh.
there was a group of guys there, and one of them turned around and I knew that was his guy. Because he described him to me. He says he's kind of goth, he's into all the goth and the makeup. And this kid turns around and he's short, he's got long hair, he's got the goth makeup on, he's a kind of a puffy face. I mean, a normal guy, right? And as soon as he saw the guy I brought, he lost his mind. he broke down in tears and was like crying. His friends were with him, and they rushed up to him, and the guy I brought went running to him, and they hugged, and everyone
Aw.
starts clapping. I'm like, oh my God, it's the coolest thing. I mean, I felt so good, felt so
Oh,
good.
wow.
And he turns around, and uh, I I did two that night, so I'm a little confusing them both. But I think I grabbed his hands. I'm like, I'm gonna go now. Glad you found your place. And he reached out and he hugged me really hard. I'm like, whoa, okay. And
Felt that.
yeah, it was so cool.
So what
So,
about the little girl? Were you able to, how did that go when you crossed her over to see her mother? Was she there with her for her?
I'd been warned about this, that when you rescue a soul, try to track them where they go because it's really hard to do. And often once you reach the heavenly realms, they disappear. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen to me because I'm pretty good at this. And I had her by the hand, and we're going up, and she's a little nervous, right? And there's this weird barrier you kind of hit when you break into the heavenly realms because it's a higher realm. It's a much
Yeah.
higher vibration, I guess. I don't know, but it's
Uh-huh.
like diving into, water tension. You dive into the ocean, you can feel the different atmosphere, kind of. It's like that, but it's a higher dimension, and it's
Oh.
very energetic. And we broke through it, and darned if that she didn't let go of my hand and disappear. And I'm like cracking trying to track her. I'm like, lost that one, and that kept happening. So I was really happy to just do it recently. I'm like, okay, now I get to enjoy the reunion because I did it with another guy. And I'm like, how did you die? This is the same, because I went back and came out, and there was another guy. I'm like, gosh, I'm busy. And this is normal, I found out. If you get good at this, you're crossing souls over because it's a problem. And here's this other guy,
Right.
he's real tall too. And I stupidly didn't ask his name because I just forgot. But I asked him, how did you die? And boy, he was depressed and mad. He said, they poisoned me with candy. I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding. He's like,
Mm.
no. I'm like, I'm taking you to the other side. And I did. And boom. And I don't really remember a whole lot about that one, other than it was just one other guy that he met who quickly scooped him up and said, thanks. And oh yeah, I remember now. We landed, and there was two or three people there, and he's having a reunion with this guy. They're just hugging. And his friends come over, and they're looking me up and down. I'm like, I gotta go. I did what I needed to do. And they wanted to talk, but I didn't feel like that was my place to be there. I don't know. I'm still
Oh.
learning. I'm still trying to get more information.
Do
Uh,
they ever ask you questions when you get there? Do they ever ask, are they curious about you?
um, Not really. No.
No?
I mean, if you go to the heavenly realms, yeah. I mean, I would meet my mom there, and we'd talk. She's like, "How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm doing good. How are you doing?" And
Oh, nice.
these conversations because they're long, and it's just normal stuff like, "How's the family?" She's, "I'm doing art. It's great up here. Can I show you this?" Uh, it's really
Wow.
cool. But
Well, that is so amazing. So what you're doing is very similar to what we do. You're physically there. You can feel things. Are you able to eat things as well? Can you eat
if
things?
you want, yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of got over it. But if you want to eat anything, you can create it, and
Nice.
it's real. When I went over the other side, my mom created some orange pop rocks kind of for me. We went to, above the heavenly realms to this other crystal realm, and she pointed to the ground and turned it orange. She says, "Eat that." I'm like, "Mom, you're crazy. What are you talking about?" She says, "Scoop it up in your hand and put it in your mouth. Trust me." I'm like, "Okay." And this was telepathic. Sometimes it's
Uh-huh.
verbal, but with her, it's telepathic. And I scooped it up. It's like orange sand, but granular. And I put it in my mouth. I don't know if you've ever had pop rock candy, uh,
Yep.
but it was doing that. And I'm like, whoa. And it was orange, 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 orange. I got addicted to orange juice after that. That was the
I
coolest.
thought you were gonna say orange tang.
This is the orangest thing I'd ever, I mean, orange candy, orange juice, nothing does it justice. Everything
Wow.
on the other side is amplified. The colors are so beautiful. I can't even describe. You know, I'm slightly nearsighted. When you're there, you can see a mile away if you want. You can do zoom vision. You can see
Wow.
180 degrees around you, or no, 360 degrees. What am I saying? You can see everything, all anywhere. Confusing at first. The
Wow.
first few times that happens. And the
That's
colors,
amazing.
oh my God, the colors.
I've always wondered like how vibrant could the colors be? And I know that in hypnosis, sometimes they always say like, oh, the colors, I can't describe it. Like the colors are amazing. So that's amazing. It's amazing to know that what we see here in this 3D that we're so amazed by, it's nothing compared to what's on the other side,
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's a pale comparison.
right?
I've just been kind of sitting back and listening because I think this is absolutely fascinating because like, I've been doing my own meditation. I do my Wim Hof breath work. I've also talked to like Frank Castle and Chris Matthew and all those guys who experience with psychedelics. And it's funny because you start to see overlaps. And one of them is the Crystal City, because I've been there under hypnosis and by meditation. Frank Castle's been there. You've mentioned it. Like there is an overlap in some of these things that are in different densities, different frequencies. I don't know whichever way you want to explain it, but I'm starting to see the overlaps, and that's exactly why I'm doing shows like this, because I'm getting things put together. And one thing that I can almost unequivocally say is there is a Crystal City because I've heard about it from every experiencer.
Yeah, Marilyn Hughes talked about it. I love her books. She's like, one of her books is called Crystal River Flowing. She's like, there's a crystal forest, there's a crystal river. I'm like, I'm not so sure. Yeah.
There's crystal planets. I in one of my hypnosis session, I took a girl, in one life she was a tree person, and it was funny because she was talking like, yes, no, like it was funny. It was like this long, drawn out sound. Um, and then I took her to a place where she was a purple crystal. She was an amethyst crystal, and there was this triangle creature. It was a triangle being, and she was trying to catch it. It was running from her, and she was like, "Come here." She was trying to catch it. It was kind of funny. But yeah, I've been to some planets, but that's amazing. So do you ever go, I know we're going over, but this is just so fascinating. It's fine. um um I was going to ask you about, do you ever get to go to like planets and places like that when you're doing your astral?
Not so much. There's a huge bucket list of things you want to do, and I have
Like
not
the
really done
moon?
that. I went to the
Did you go to
moon.
the moon? Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely went to the moon because Robert Monroe talked about it. He's like, "Oh yeah, we took little teens up there." I'm like, you got to be kidding. That sounds crazy. And I kept trying to do it and I couldn't. And one day I popped out. I'm like, well, there's the moon. It's a practically full moon. Maybe if I just fly directly towards it as fast as I can, I'll get there. And I'm
Hmm.
booking along, I don't know, 100, 200, 500 miles an hour. I'm like, this is going to take me a month. I need to get there now. Faster, 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 faster. And I just really commanded it and really intended it. Because sometimes you can basically teleport. I went to San
Hmm.
Diego that way over the freeways. I went to Colorado, Florida, uh,
Wow.
other places. You kind of teleport there. You start off meandering and then you speed up and then boink. So that's basically what happened. I'm raced up towards it and it started getting real big. I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And then it got huge. Then it's covering my whole field of vision. And then I'm coming in for a landing. I'm like, no one's ever going to believe me. I'm not talking about this ever because people are going to think I'm crazy. But
Hmm.
I'm telling you, it happened and anyone can do this. And I came in for a landing. I'm like, I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon. And I'm
Uh-huh.
looking around and it's starkly beautiful, grays and whites, and the shadows there are pitch black. So it was
Oh.
really, really beautiful, but so desolate. And I'm
Hmm.
flying around. I'm like, well, It's just rocks. There's craters, there's dusts, there's fields. It's all, I mean, it's surprisingly varying, lots of different landscapes. Finally, I came up and there was something on the moon that wasn't supposed to be there in terms of a structure.
What did you see? Was it triangular, square, octagon?
It was a dome, and it was man-made. It was made out of moon rock, or looked like it. So if you
Oh,
were to fly over it, you were of any distance above it, you would be hard pressed to notice it. But I've
wow.
done my UFO research, and I've talked to people who've been on board UFOs, and they flew over the moon or landed on it in a couple of cases, and seen basically what amounts to defunct alien bases, or alien artifacts that are not so much active anymore. But if you look
Mm.
into lunar anomalies and all this, there's something up there. NASA knows it. We know they know. It's a huge cover up. It's gonna come out one day, and their heads are gonna roll because they've
You didn't
lost.
see anything? Did you go around the whole moon or just one part of it?
No, seeing that was a real shock, and it pretty much
Did you go
ended.
inside the dome? Did you get to go
I did.
inside?
I did. I saw stuff in there, and it was
What'd you
very
see?
confusing. I
What
saw what.
did you see? Spill it.
All right. I
We've
saw.
been to the moon, so I'm just curious if it's the same stories that we've heard.
There was what looked like genetic experimentation going on of some kind, and it made me really
Like
angry.
hospitals, like a hospital, like facilities at all with
Kind
like
of. I'm not sure.
rooms.
It was a corridor with tables and experiments going on, and I'm looking at it thinking, I'm probably projecting at this point, because if you think, you sometimes add your own thoughts to reality. I'm
Hmm.
starting to get a little confused. I'm like, am I making this up or is this actually real? So that kind of pulled me out of it. But yeah, I'm sure that there's something up there. I'll tell you that. That I'm
Did you
sure of.
see the flags, like the United States flag, the Russian flag, or
No, I want to
no?
do that so bad. I've lost a lot of people. Not, I've lost two brothers, and a best friend, and my dad, and my nephew. So that's been taking up my time because I want to go see them and see how
Oh,
Yeah.
they're doing. And it's the coolest thing. I mean, because that's a reunion that is, you need it. You need it to just
yeah.
go on.
When was the
You
last time you did an out of body journey?
it
Just
was the
four
one I
days
just,
ago?
yeah, the one I told you.
Yeah.
And it happens for me once or twice or 3 times a month, or sometimes a lot more, sometimes a lot less. But that's what I'm kind of averaging now.
Do you have to think about it and set the intent before you, is it like going to sleep and then you just don't go to sleep? Or is it just like during the day?
For me, it works best if I wake up really early, 5 a.m., go to the bathroom, stay up for a few minutes, lay down, and then do, what I do, which is basically relaxing your entire body and turning inward, because at some point you can't pay attention to your body, or else it'll keep you attached to it.
Hmm.
And then I intend to go wherever I want to go or do what I want to do, or induce the vibrations, or it's a weird state you get to, which you just kind of know where it is once you've done it a bunch of times. And then I get there and I slide out.
Yeah.
But I love doing different experiments, because someone said,
Wow.
no, you can't walk up next to your body. It'll pull you right back in. There's this weird magnetic pull if you get too close. I'm like, I think I can do it. Because I always, when I lived in Reseda, I would always fall off on the wrong side of the bed, and I have to walk around my bed to get out. I don't know
Oh,
why. I mean, I could have just flown, but I could feel it pulling on me. So one day I'm like, I'm just going to stay right here and see how close I can get to my body. And I was like right up to it and touching it. And I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I can do this. But
mm-hmm.
I'm all about really kind of pushing the boundaries and trying to learn control and see what I can do and what this means. Uh, it's really cool. I mean, one guy said, if you stare at your body, it will turn into a ball of light. Robert Bruce. He wrote that in his book. I'm like, you're dead wrong. I've looked at my hands, maybe they're unblemished, you're all young, but I don't turn to a ball of light. But he said, if you stare at it, you will. He was right. Turned out, I stared at my hands, they faded away. They were stumps. I'm like, oh, this is weird. This is
Oh my gosh.
creepy. And it faded away until boom, I was this ball of light. I'm like,
No,
whoa, okay, this is our true form. You know, the
Nice.
human form is something we carry for a while.
that is amazing. You
Uh,
know, I think that you have some amazing, fascinating stories, and I just I don't want to say goodbye yet, but I feel like I probably should. But your stories are so wonderful. I love the out of body journeys. I would love to have you back on for a second part. You can come on my Tainted Tea episode for a continuum. But I think that is so cool, what you're doing, and the years of experience and dedication and trying and really figuring it out, and writing all the books and stuff. So you have books about this, about your journeys, right? You said you had a couple
well,
of them.
I wrote one on my only autobiographical book. It's called Out of Body Exploring: A Beginner's Approach.
Hmm.
Because all these books dive right into the deep end. I'm like, you're leaving everybody behind. People don't know how to do this. They think it's hard. They think it's scary. So I kind of lead people right through the whole journey, right up to where you can explore past lives and meet enlightened masters
Oh
and
wow.
go to healing temples and all
Yes.
this stuff you can do. It's
Yes. Oh my God, I gotta have you back on again. I got 100 questions. I'm like, have you healed yourself? Have you done this? Have you done that? Like, that is so cool. I've always wanted to talk to somebody who has been successful at the outer body experiences, because the closest thing I've ever had is sleep paralysis, where I saw myself laying down and I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening? And then I couldn't, and then like I couldn't move. I somehow I was back in my body, but I couldn't move, and I saw things moving around me and stuff. That's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's all I've had. And
that's
yeah,
it. That's how it begins. So you did the hard part. You're there. Keep
right,
at
yeah.
it.
And then another time I was meditating, and I haven't done it since. It's been 7 years, because it freaked me out. I'm terrible. I need to get back into it. I meditate my own way. But the last time I was meditating, I was sitting down at night at 3 in the morning, and I was just meditating, and I heard a little boy. I heard it, sensed it, and knew where it came from. The direction came from like the kitchen, and came directly to me, and I heard like little kids footprints, and I heard running, and I heard footsteps, and I heard mommy, 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 and I heard something. It jumped on my lap, and I felt like if somebody put their head, like a little kid put their head into my belly, like was nudging me, like hugging me, and it freaked me out. And I got scared, and I knew who it was. I knew it was my spirit son, but because I have two boys in spirit, and I was like, I know that was one of my boys. I know it, because I know they're around me. And but it scared me. It freaked me out, and I was like, I haven't tried it yet. I haven't gone back, because I'm just like, oh gosh, my nerves. My nerves. I don't know if my nerves can handle this yet.
I get it. It's
But
fun though.
yeah,
I like it. It's safe. It's as safe as sleeping. We're all doing it every night, just so you know. It's really all
right.
about remembering because we're doing this. I I've seen my whole family out there and I've talked to them. And you're fully conscious. Everyone is actually doing this, and you're walking around there and you're planning your day. And uh, most people only get little snippets of it in dreams. In terms of bringing.
Yeah, see, in my dreams, I'm such a lucid dreamer. And in my dreams, I love my dreams, because it's like a mixture of Vermont and California. And I'm like doing what I normally would do, but having fun. I'm on the beach, going to go get some tacos. I'm going to the bar to have like a day drink with my friends. Like, oh, I want to go back. But it's a whole nother world now. But I love my dreams. I love dreaming, because I know I'm lucid dreaming, and I could fly in my dreams, I could eat, I could do all, I'm on spaceships, I do all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's good to know that maybe I'm out there in the astral world, you know, doing other things, and it's not just like a dream. Like, I think it's just a dream. I'm actually remembering, like you said, like maybe glimpse. So I'm gonna have to look up this Robert Monroe. I'm gonna have to do some studying and take it to the next level, because that's the next level for me, is the being able to see. And because, you know, when I was 3 years old, I saw a portal open and it freaked me out, and ever since then it shut that part down. Like, my other clairs are aware, you know, I can sense things, but I want to be able to see things. I'm almost ready, I think. The more I hear people's stories, it makes me want to try it. So, you know.
Fear is probably the biggest obstacle. Fear, skepticism, and laziness. That's all that's really stopping people from doing it.
Yeah,
That's
well, I got 2 out of those 3. I'm not gonna admit which ones, but I don't know. Am I lazy? Shoot, I need to just do
No,
it.
no. Little known secret in the metaphysical world that I'm going to spill the beans on. Some people know it, some people won't admit it. Gen Xers hate to meditate. They're way too
Oh,
lazy to
really?
miss it. I have to force myself to do it, but it is so worth it.
Right? I know. I know. Well, when I do my hypnosis sessions with you guys, I'm damn near putting myself under. I'm like in my own little trance, and sometimes I can sense and see things that you guys are, I can pick it up. Like, I just know, you know, I just know things. So I'm almost there. But it was wonderful talking to you. Would you like to let everybody know where they can find you and how they can, you know, find your books and stuff? Give them all the good, juicy details, and then whoever you want to say hello to, your shout outs and all that good stuff. Take it away.
Thanks very much. Yeah. Well, I'm pretty easy to find. I'm on social media, punch in my name on Facebook or whatever, Instagram, Twitter. It'll take you there. My books are on Amazon. I do have a YouTube channel where I'm putting out my research, a website. Again, punch my name in, it'll take you there. You can contact me through my website, prestondennett.weebly.com. And if you want to learn how to out of body, I can send you a little guide I made up because I get a lot of queries about it. So anyone who, you know, is really into it, do it. It's so much fun. It's so worth it. And thanks so much for having me on the show, because I love talking about this stuff. UFOs, OBEs, you name it. I think this is so interesting.
Yes, wonderful. And who would you like to, you know, this is your chance to give a shout out, you know, say what's up to a few lovely people in your world.
Well, I would definitely give a shout out to my lovely sister-in-law, Christine Kisara Dennett. She does the art for all my books, and she was
Nice,
kind of my spirit guide in the flesh. So, yeah,
nice.
she's one of my favorite people. So shout out to my dear sister-in-law, Christy. Love you.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting a chance to talk to you again, because I know there's got to be so many more. Like, I don't know if I could stop. There's got to be a series to some of these, you know. No wonder why Rob's had you on, what, 5, 6 times now, probably. I don't even know how many times you've been on the Typical Skeptics show, right?
Every time, so yeah. He's a nice
And
guy.
I have to go back and watch every single one now, because now I just want to know, you know, how much, because the ones that I saw, you were talking about your work and your research, but I was like, I want to know his story. Like, what was your experiences, you know?
Yeah, we
But
didn't really get into the UFO stuff, but I've had some stuff. And it
Yeah,
only
oh,
really
that's what I'm
skimmed the
saying.
surface of the OBEs. I got, man,
Yes. We're gonna
definitely.
have to do a series with you, because I think you are just so fascinating, and I love all of this and the years of experience and dedication, and, you know, just going through it. I remember being a little kid thinking, like, looking up, like, are aliens real? are UFOs really real? Like, I need to know. I really felt like this as a kid because I remember in California, remember the lights that used to shine in the skies? A lot of people would think they were UFOs. So it would get me thinking, like, are those UFOs? Are they really real? And so it's wonderful now. Man, I feel sorry for my parents and their parents, living in the dark ages, not knowing. Or maybe they did, I don't know. But it's a
Sure.
lot of hush hush, it seemed, you know. But wonderful. We're gonna put all your links and stuff in the description. So this will be on my YouTube channel, SOSQHT, so people can see the video if they don't catch the live on air, which would be wvew.org. For everybody who has been listening online, we love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. DJ Pooh Bear, you have any last words where people can reach you and all that good stuff?
Oh yeah, we'll absolutely have to have you back on if you're willing to come. Like, we didn't even scratch the surface on the UFOs or MUFON. Like, that is 2, 3 other shows if you're willing to. I know, busy dude. But anyways, all of my stuff is over on Rumble and YouTube at March 4th Productions. There's my show, the ones I do with Maya, multiple spin-offs. Just anything that seems to come out of my head basically ends up on my YouTube. So it's March 4th, which is the number 4 in TH.
Cool.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. So this has been another amazing interview, and I'm super excited about this. Man, I hate to say goodbye. We were getting so good into it. It was just so good, so good. So I'm looking forward to hopefully chatting with you again. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Blessings and infinite love to you. And we will say goodbye to our listeners. So we could say goodbye. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening. Same time, same place. Every Friday, 10 p.m., The Mad Shadow Show, DJ Maya and DJ Pooh Bear, an amazing guest. Thank you.